A rocket has hit a shopping mall in the town of Kremenchuk in Poltava region of Ukraine. The city's mayor says the strike hit a very crowded place and that he was at the scene. It's also not clear how many people are dead or hurt from the attack. President Volodymyr Zelensky has reacted to the attack on Telegram, saying that 1,000 people were in the mall at the time of the strike. He said the mall posed no danger to the Russian army and posed no strategic value to the Russians. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's looking towards the war, forward to the war with Ukraine ending before the winter. He said this in an address to leaders on the second day of the G summit holding in the Bavarian Alps in Germany. Soon enough, they sit for a roundtable discussion to kick off the summit on Sunday. The leaders have been meeting since Sunday in the Bavarian Alps. There, President Joe Biden made a statement about the amount of money, new funds the U.S. would be given towards infrastructure development. At the end of Sunday's meeting, leaders at the G7 summit agreed on raising $600 million by 2027 for infrastructure development. Leaders also held bilateral talks. President Joe Biden holding one with the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. A look at today's meeting where President Volodymyr Zelensky is looking forward to the end of the war with Russia. Macron.
G7 leaders are pledging support for Ukraine and have agreed to hike sanctions on Russia as the first working day of the summit got underway. A White House fact sheet said the leaders would stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes by cranking up sanctions on Russia over its war in the country, adding that they would continue to provide financial, humanitarian, military and diplomatic support. A senior U.S. official said the G7 leaders will commit to a new package of coordinated actions meant to raise pressure on Russia on Tuesday, as well as finalize plans for a price cap on Russian oil. The statement came after Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke to the leaders via video link. He asked the leaders for a broad range of military, economic and diplomatic support, according to a European official, adding that he wanted the war to end by winter. However, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who was hosting the summit in Bavaria, urged caution over the sanctions.
We are discussing all the topics that are on the agenda, especially staying united in supporting the Ukraine against the Russian aggression. And we understood that the policies of all our countries are very much aligned. And this is, I think, the good message, that we are taking tough decisions, that we are also cautious, that we will help the Ukraine as much as is possible, but that we also avoid that there will be a big conflict between Russia and NATO, and this is what is of essence, to be tough and thinking about the necessities of the time we are living in.
There are a lot of really big issues, and it's just great to be able to count on a strong progressive voice in Germany to lead us through.
The White House also said Russia had defaulted on its foreign sovereign bonds for the first time in decades, an assertion Moscow rejects. Sanctions have effectively cut Russia out of the global financial system. But the war has created difficulties for countries way beyond Russia's borders, with curtailed food and energy supplies hitting the global economy. These also include Ukrainian grain exports, now trapped in ports, which normally feed millions of people across the Middle East, Africa and elsewhere. G7 leaders are expected to discuss options for tackling rising energy prices and replacing Russian oil and gas imports, as well as further sanctions that do not exacerbate inflation.
The Kremlin has rejected claims it has defaulted on its external debt for the first time in more than a century, after a grace period on $100 million interest payments ran out. In a call with reporters, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said Russia made bond payments due in May, but the fact that they had been blocked by Euroclear because of Western sanctions on Russia was not our problem, his words. Russia has struggled to keep up payments on $40 billion of outstanding bonds since its invasion of Ukraine on February 24, as sweeping sanctions have effectively cut off the country from the global financial system and rendered its assets untouchable to many investors. Russia has long said it has the money to pay, calling the default artificial, as sanctions block foreign bondholders from receiving the cash. Today, U.S. officials said the default showed how dramatically the sanctions are impacting Russia's economy. In the meantime, Russia's defense ministry spokesperson Kremenchuk says Russian forces carried out large-scale attacks on 3 training centers of the Ukrainian army with high-precision weapons and caliber missiles. According to Kremenchuk, the Russian army launched attacks on the 3 military centers located in Chernihiv, Zhytomyr and Lviv in Ukraine's west, which destroyed the battle capacities of Ukrainian strategic reserve forces that were being trained at the centers. Kremenchuk said the armed forces in Luhansk have taken control of the cities of Severodonetsk, Borovsk, Voronovo and Sirodino, which together cover 145 square kilometers and have a combined population of 108,000 residents. He says the Ukrainian army tried once again to attack the Snake Island, a strategic area located in the Black Sea region, with aviation forces and rocket launchers, adding that the attack ultimately failed. A report released by the Ukrainian news agency on Sunday said Ukraine appointed military administrator in Donetsk, Pavlo Kirilenko, stated that the Russian military was gathering armed forces, heavy armored vehicles and weapons in the direction of Slavyansk, a major city in North Donetsk, and trying to approach the positions held by the Ukrainian side. Take a look at this video uploaded on social media, allegedly showing U.S. long-range rocket systems being fired by Ukrainian troops from an undisclosed location in Ukraine. Ukraine said last week it had received U.S. supplies of high-mobility artillery rocket systems, HIMARS for short, a powerful long-range weapon system that Kyiv hopes can help turn the tide on Russia's invasion. The uploader of the video describes the weapon as a M142 HIMARS. Washington has said it has received assurances from Kyiv that those longer-range weapons will not be used to attack Russian territory. Fearing an escalation of the conflict, Moscow has warned it will strike targets in Ukraine in the east in a bid to capture the industrial heartland known as the Donbass, where Ukraine fears some of its troops could be encircled in a Russian pincer. Moscow has warned it will strike targets where they've not yet been hitting if the West supplies longer-range missiles to Ukraine for use in high-precision mobile rocket systems. And NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg says the organization will massively increase the number of its forces at high readiness to over 300,000. NATO's Quick Reaction Force, the NATO Response Force, so far has some 40,000 troops. During the summit in Madrid, NATO will change its language on Russia, that in the alliance's last strategy from 2010, still described as a strategic partner. Stoltenberg said he would meet with the leaders of NATO, Turkey, Finland and Sweden on Tuesday before the Madrid summit to discuss the Nordic countries' bids to join the alliance.
Strengthen our forward defences. We will enhance our battle groups in the eastern part of the alliance up to brigade levels. We will transform the NATO response force and increase the number of our high readiness forces to well over 300,000. Strategic competition. I expect it will make clear that allies consider Russia as the most significant and direct threat to our security. I will not make any promises. But I can just assure you that we are working actively to ensure progress because the applications of Finland and Sweden to join NATO, they are historic. It will strengthen the security of Finland and Sweden. It will strengthen NATO, and it will be something that will contribute to stability across the Euro-Atlantic area, Europe and North America.
Let's bring in the VOA's Anna Chernikova in Kyiv. Anna, I have so many questions. First of all, what's going on in Kyiv at the moment? Over the weekend, Sunday especially, we understood that a number of missiles struck the Ukrainian capital. Tell us the situation now.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Well, it was really tough day yesterday as Ukrainians, and especially Kyiv citizens, woke up with a flashback of the 24th of February because basically on the 24th of February, everyone in Ukraine woke up of explosions and the sound of explosions and with news about war. So yesterday, some Kyiv citizens didn't wake up because at 6:30 a.m. local time, Russian missiles hit one of the civilian buildings, a residential building. It was already hit before, so basically it's just almost the same building that was hit previously. It just neighboring building to the one that was destroyed previously when the Ukrainian journalist died. So yesterday it was targeted again, and unfortunately we know that there is at least one victim for the moment, and more than 10 people are injured. We know that a little girl that was found under the rubble of the building was rescued, and she is now stable. Her mother was also rescued, but unfortunately her father died. So this is what we have for the moment. We know that rescue operation is ongoing, so it's still not finished. The city of Kyiv and also yesterday, the kindergarten, which is located, private kindergarten, which is located just in that area as well, was also targeted. So it's thanks God that it was no one there on Sunday morning because this kindergarten is operating. So it is possible that if it happens not on the weekend, we could have more victims. So what we know that there is, the damages of the kindergarten are huge as well. So it's just a huge hole in the garden, on the territory of the kindergarten, and it's basically pretty much not functioning for the next couple of months. This is for sure. For the moment, situation in Kyiv is stable, I would put it this way. Of course, it's nervous because there are air raid sirens very often, and every day we have at least 2, 3, 4 air raid sirens, especially during the evening time and early in the morning. And just a couple of hours ago, it was another air raid siren that resulted with attack on Kremenchuk.
I can't imagine how dreadful that might feel. And on to today, the city of Kremenchuk struck by missiles. We understand that there's a death toll now, and then there are a number of those who were wounded, a number of casualties. Tell us what happened there this morning or this evening, and what the situation is as well.
Yes, unfortunately, we can clearly see that it was a terroristic act. I cannot call it differently because it was just a shopping mall with no military, nothing connected to military area around. It was quite a big shopping mall, and we know for the moment that more than 1,000 people were inside. So it's really, as President Zelensky said, it's very hard to imagine how many victims we could expect. For the moment, we know about 2 people who died and 20 injured. Out of this, 29 people are in a very serious condition. But unfortunately, fire is still not stopped. So it's really, really scary to imagine what rescue team would find under the rubble when fire is stopped. So we're just waiting for for certain results, at least preliminary results. This is what we have for the moment. We know that Kremenchuk local government created a center for a special center for the relatives of people who were inside or were working in this mall, so they can either call or come physically and check on their relatives and friends. But I should say that it looks like this rescue operation would continue for a couple of days because the territory is huge. If I'm not mistaken, it's over 10,000 square meters, this mall, and it's really difficult to imagine, and it does happen in the middle of the day, almost. So it was around 4 p.m. local time, and it's quite a chaos now in Kremenchuk. So it's just the city is full of smog, full of this, fire smell, and ambulances and firefighters are just, going around. So it's quite a huge tragedy, and unfortunately we can say that this is a terroristic act by Russia. This is at least what we have for this minute.
And we know that while G7 leaders were meeting in Germany, those airstrikes, those missile strikes were hitting the Ukrainian capital. And you're looking at, the contrasts in the pictures. Leaders are meeting, they're having dinner, they're relaxed. And, Ukraine is going through so much. What goes through your mind as you watch, these conversations taking place outside of Ukraine regarding Ukraine, and then you see the difference in what's happening around you?
Well, Ukraine is and Ukrainian citizens quite get used to the fact that Russia is getting mad, and Putin probably in particular are getting mad when certain successful actions are taken by Ukraine in terms of either military operation in this war or on the diplomatic stage. And it's quite symbolic. It's bad to say, of course, but well, this is what we have. It's quite symbolic that Russian forces intensify attacks, especially when certain important decisions are taken on the international stage, and these decisions are definitely make huge advantage for Ukraine. So this last week was very important for Ukraine in terms of different areas, like Ukraine got EU candidacy, Ukraine had some successful military operations in the area of the Snake, Zmyiny Island, and also in the east, when Ukraine destroyed a huge convoy of the Russian troops, and the main base for Russian high military officials, which is located in Izum. So all this was happening, and at the same time, Russia is attacking civilian area, residential building in Kyiv. Just enormous attacks on Kharkiv and Kharkiv region. We should not also forget about that, because Kharkiv is under just extreme artillery attack for the past week, I should say, and at least, and especially this last 2 days, today and yesterday, is just enormous. What's, the amount of attacks in Kharkiv. Also today in the morning, it was very heavy artillery attack on the Odessa region, the bordering region, and we know that the private sector of the residential area again was hit by Russian missiles. At least 69 private buildings were destroyed. 4 of them just burned down to ashes, and others just very seriously destroyed. Then we have J7 meeting today, and today the president of Moldova was visiting Ukraine, also having some successful conversation and negotiations with President Zelensky. And during her visit, we experienced Odessa attack and Kremenchuk attack, and also this, J7 meeting. So we can definitely see that Russia is just getting mad because apparently they are just feeling that they're losing on the diplomatic level, they're losing on the economic level, and they're losing well, on the political level as well, because the whole world can see what Russia is representing, and this is unfortunately not what civilized world well, you know, is looking for. So for Ukraine, you know, here inside the country, people understand that this is a price that Ukraine pays for its better future, for its European and civilized future, for its independence, for its normal life that Ukrainians want to get back as soon as possible. And again, this attack at Kremenchuk just shows that Russia is getting mad when people, even despite the war is going on, but people are trying to get back to normal, at least at the level, you know, they can. So they go to mall, they try to support economy, and then Russia hits, well, a shopping mall with 1,000 people inside. So for Ukraine, it's no way back. And EU candidacy is also another proof that it's no way back. Ukraine has already decided its direction very, well, many years ago, but this particular week was very, very important in this, you know, aspect. So Ukrainians ready to pay this price, because already a lot, you know, has been paid. A lot of blood has been paid in this war, and a lot of people have died. So Ukraine just want to get it done, and Ukraine don't want any preliminary results or any preliminary peace. Ukraine want final peace forever. So people are ready to pay this, you know, price and fight, continue to fight.
Yes, but everyone also wants, you know, peace at the end of the day. But as President Volodymyr Zelensky said this morning, he fears this war could continue until the winter, and that will be more devastating for the Ukrainian army. Right, right now it's summer, it's warmer. I mean, the conditions are much more bearable than if this was happening in the winter. So Ukraine also is asking for HIMARS, the long-range weapons, rockets that the U.S. is offering to give to Ukraine, but not the ones that are long enough or that go far enough as Russia. If Ukraine did get these weapons, where and what would be the targets?
For Ukraine, it's important that here, so the country can fight military bases which are used for this heavy attacks on the Ukrainian civilians and the Ukrainian peaceful cities. So in terms of HIMARS, we know that the systems are coming and more systems are coming. And in terms of the distance of the rocket that Ukraine will get for these HIMARS, in terms of the distance of these rockets, there are negotiations, and it might be that Ukraine would get longer range. Ukraine has no goal to attack Russian territory. Ukraine, I think that Ukrainian president, Ukrainian government, and just inside of the society as well, it's no goal. Ukraine wants to protect its land, and a lot of attacks, artillery attacks especially, that Russia is doing are happening either from the territory of occupied Ukrainian territory, or from the territory at the border, which is also, which are quite a lot, let's put it this way. So these rockets would definitely be used to destroy the bases that Russia uses for these rocket launches. We know that a lot of things are coming from Crimea, from Black Sea. So it looks like Ukrainian government and Ukrainian military officials are ready to probably strike these bases. But again, we're talking about the territory of Ukraine, the sovereign territory of Ukraine. So either occupied territory, but still Ukrainian territory. There is no, at least this is, what is official position, that it is not no goal to fight Russian territory, because Ukraine doesn't want to go into Russia and fight on the territory of Russia. Ukraine wants Russian soldiers and Russian forces out from the territory of Ukraine.
So it does seem like, the stronger country here, Russia, using its might to intimidate Ukraine. Anna, thank you. Thank you so much for being with us this evening, and do stay safe.
Thank you.